All right, a lot of people have been talking about the Atronach, and they think that I'm severely underrating the Atronach birth sign. So I made a tier list about birth signs in Oblivion, and people are telling me, oh, you gave it a B rating. That's ridiculous. It's so good. It's so powerful. It's going to give you by far the most defense. It's got the best characters. It's the best. You can circumvent it with these stones you can find. You can use the Welknut stones, and you can use magical restore potions instead of hoarding them. I don't want to wait 20 seconds to restore my magicka. I'd rather just use this item. You suck. You must have wandered around with the zero magical mage for a few hours, and so you hate Atronach because you suck. Atronach with high elf can lead to the most broken endgame build imaginable if you can handle that headache at the beginning. It's way stronger than mage. This person says I actually like managing my magicka. It's totally fine. People like survival mode in Skyrim. It's great, actually. You should like it. That's good. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's not stronger. Just like survival mode in Skyrim doesn't make your character stronger. It is an inconvenience. It's a nerf. And the reason it got a B rating is the same. It's the same logic that if there was a birth sign that gave me plus 1,000 carry weight, that would be S tier, because carry weight makes the game easier, where stunted magicka makes the game harder. This person, never mind. I don't need to reply to everything. That's really what I want to talk about. We're talking about the Atronach. People think it's really good. I'm here to crap on it. So first, like people admitted, early game, it's tedious, it's annoying, it's inconvenient, it makes it a little slower. You have to use custom spells a lot to just like spam, weakness to magic on myself with a feather touch to make it faster. And you just spam that instead of natural gameplay, because natural gameplay, well, you're not able to spam spells as much. Or you have to spend a lot of time farming mats for magic restore potions, a lot of time farming those Welknut stones and using them, or you have a backup weapon and you're not really casting your spells to kill things. You're relying on your weapon to carry you at a lot of times. Leveling up is worse. Then we get to late game, and that's really what I want to talk about, is late game. So you've seen my videos. Well, you probably haven't. They don't have very many views. But I have videos. Let's go to this one here. Oblivion on max difficulty with no exploits. In this build, I just made a Breton. I picked the Mage Sign, and a Breton can get the same amount of defensiveness with just the Mundane Ring. So I'm talking about a Breton with the Mage Sign. And a Atronach, to get 100 spell absorption, would need to use Spelldrinker's Amulet and Sorcerer's Ring. And the thing about an amulet, there's only one. Or they'd have to use 3 items, because those are the only 2 that were, with just 2 you could get 100 spell absorption. I would talk about how I think the game should cap spell absorption and resist magic at 85%, but the game doesn't. So we're talking about the game we're playing, not the game I wish it was. A neck, if you're using Spelldrinker Amulet, you're not using Necromancer's Amulet. And Necromancer's Amulet gives over 150 magicka. So it's better than the entire magicka from the Atronach sign. If we go to Fortify Magicka Apparel, we can find... Oh man, that's a lot of things. I don't see Necromancer's... Whatever. It's probably in jewelry. But it gives over 150. Just take my word for it. It takes away some strength and endurance, but those stats don't matter, and they never have. I'll talk about that more in a later video. We're going to talk about my build and compare it to an Atronach build. So this is a starting Breton. And if you've ever been annoyed with how slow magicka regens at the beginning of the game, well, that's because a Breton who's got the higher willpower and a higher magicka bonus, this is how fast your magicka regens. 3.5 per second. That's pretty slow. My current Breton, I got my int to 100 and my willpower to 100. I have a Mage Sign, and I have 3 plus 50 magicka sigil stones. So 200 for 100 int, 50 for Breton, 50 for Mage puts me at 300, and then those 3 sigil stones each gives me plus 50, brings me up to 450. So this is where my current character was in that video. My willpower is 100, magic is 450. This is how much I regen per second, 12. Still not that high. Now my hotkeys are right here. I use these 7 spells. The 8th one is a heal. It gives me 100 speed for 10 seconds so I can run away. We're going to talk about 3 through 7. So I start with 3, and it bumps me up to this magicka to here. So I'm regenerating 25 magic per second. That fourth hotkey for only 100 more magicka bumps me up to here. Now I'm making 38 magicka a second. And at this point, because I've gained so much magicka from those spells, I'm able to cast that next one for 653 pretty much immediately, which bumps me up to this magicka regen per second. That's a lot. I usually wait a little bit. If I'm in combat right after I fast travel, I don't. This is what I'm fighting with, 60. And if you look at the damage spells and the weakness to paralyze, they don't cost that much. So I can fight with this. If I'm not fighting immediately after fast travel or immediately after resting, I take a few moments and I get my 4th and 5th cast going. By that time, sometimes my 20-second ones are low on durability, so I recast those. But if you notice, this is my magical regen per second, 111. It's faster. It's more than these spells. Oh, and this one I always add, I add 120-second detect life for 1 feat or whatever. Because that will, when that debuff ends, that's when I know I need to refresh my 3 buffs. Maybe I'll do this, wait a few seconds, do this, wait a few seconds, do this. And because I'm regenerating 100 magicka, and I have 1,300, this does not take a long time to refresh. Yeah, so my killing spells, oh, and I added Feather all these, which doesn't really change anything. It just makes my character have a ton of carry weight, because Feather is almost free. It's 1 mana for these shorter buffs, and it's like 8 for these longer ones. I don't even notice. My damage spells, well, my weakness spell, this includes all 4 weaknesses at 100%, and for like 8 seconds. So even if I can't get to them right away, it's okay. And it includes a paralyze for 1 second. That costs less than my mana per second. So it doesn't matter if I miss. I miss with that all the time. I'm not the best player in the world, but my build is supposed to carry me. So that's the point of having a powerful build. I miss all the time. I follow up with this. As soon as I finally hit them, they're paralyzed, they fall over, I blow their head off. You see on normal, this like one-shots a bunch of guys. On highest difficulty, it doesn't, but when I play on highest difficulty, I actually use this spell instead. It costs 353. That tier list was about normal difficulty, though, so we're going to stick with this one, because I'm level 38, and I want to be killing everything in 1 hit on normal difficulty. You saw me on highest difficulty, though. I can do that, too. So I've shown this build can do that. This build cannot do that, even with 4 plus 50 sigil stones. If you just look at my damage and my weakness spell, you could take out the paralyzed. If you take out the paralyzed, this costs like 48. Let's say we do a much weaker spell, this will still cost 100. We'll say 102. So for way less damage, you can cast that combo 4 times. And to not one-shot everything. Seems pretty crappy to me. I'm not sure how that's a better build than mine. You think this heal speed boost is cheap? Why wouldn't I use one that costs 200 and makes me run really fast and gives me an absurd amount of health? If all we're comparing is my birth sign, the only reason an Atronach could never do this, because willpower is worthless, fortifying my magic and my int is worthless. What an Atronach needs to do to get more mana is to use Welcome Stones, which is a limited amount. I mean, it's like 600, so not really. But sometimes, looking at this, in a single Oblivion gate with 30 enemies, how many do you have to use? 15? Or you can use Restore Magicka potions. You can have 4 active potions at once. Restore ones do stack. Fortify don't. So I couldn't just drink 4 Fortify Willpower ones, which would be cool, but I can't. You can drink 4 Restore Magicka. They have a maximum magnitude of 24. So, if you have 100 Alchemy, and you have Master Calcinator and I believe Retort, you get 24 Magicka per second. So with all 4 of them stacking, that's 96. That's less than I have. And more importantly, there is no reason that if this build can use Alchemy, that this build wouldn't use Alchemy. Why not? That's an insane thing to think, oh, my Atronach is so good because I used Alchemy. Alchemy is absurdly powerful. Alchemy is an S tier skill. Alchemy is up there with Destruction and Restoration. It is arguably the best skill in the game. Now, it's a support skill, so you need something to back it up, but it's incredible with how much more powerful it makes your character. That's not the Atronach being powerful. That's Alchemy being powerful. 50% spell absorption is not that good because even if I didn't pick a Breton, I could use any of this gear. I can get 20% resist magic from any sigil stone. If I can even find it on here. Here it is. 20% resist magic with any sigil stone. I can get a mundane ring, which gives me 50. That's 70% resist magic. I could use this crown for 35. That's 3 pieces. That's if I'm not a Breton. If you're an orc, you'd only need 2. And I'm pretty sure, isn't this crown not even armor? Oh, it's a light armor. Okay. Doesn't matter. There is a lot of options. You're not stuck with just a few options here. You could use 3 sigil stones. That's 4 pieces of gear for 110% magic resist. It completely alters the game. And I didn't even mention, I'm not using a Necromancer's Amulet on this build because I haven't done the Mages Guild yet. But that would be, what's this plus 158? That's 608. This would be my Magicka wearing that. And so that's a neck. I have 3 Sigil Stone enchants. So 3 plus 1 is 4. What else do I have? And I have 1 bumping up my armor because I haven't got my heavy armor to 100 yet. There's still 4 more enchants because there's a total of 9. I could gain... oh, duh, that's 200. I could gain 200 more mana from Sigil Stones. So my build, when maxed out, would be this. This is my build maxed out. So even if I just cast these 2 and this one, my first 3 spells and not my last 2, I have 85 Magicka per second. And honestly, what I would probably do then is I would change this to be plus 95 and change this to be plus 95. Oop. Equals. Equals. So I would have 150 Magicka regen and over 1400. Lastly, last thing I'm going to say, fortify skill. Let's go to it. Oblivion UESP fortify skill. Fortify skill. You can fortify acrobatics and athletics hundreds of times for crazy jumps to skip parts. You can fortify any skill you want, any attribute you want. You can fortify fatigue if you want to make a melee build. You can fortify your health. When you have this type of Magicka and this type of Magicka regen, there is no limit to what your character can do. When you have this kind of Magicka and it doesn't restore on its own, you know, imagine if you fortified your acrobatics 300 and tried jumping over something just to find out it didn't work. Well, you just wasted a restore Magicka potion. And now you have to wait for the Magicka potion to give you that 400 Magicka back. So you probably have to drink 4 potions unless you want to wait forever. I get that people get to like this mid-game point and they're like, oh, my Atronach's so powerful because I have all these potions that I farmed out. Your build is powerful because of Alchemy. I guess that's really what I'm summing it down with. Summing it up with. Atronach's not what's powerful. It's not the 150 Magicka. 50 spell absorption is not that valuable because magic resist is not that hard to come by. Maybe I'm a little biased in that because I typically play a Breton, but even if I played a high elf, I would have 50 more Magicka than my Breton does to start because you get 100. I'd wear a mundane ring for 50%, and I don't like having more than 85% magic resist because I think it breaks the game. Like, you can't even be hit by weakness to magic. The game's over. But I could absolutely use 3 more enchants. There's no reason not to. I could wear, yeah, here it says Transcendent Sigil Stone. Resist magic is easier to get than absorb. Because that absorb, you're required to find that Sorcerer's Ring. Mundane Ring is an automatic drop from Raven Cameron. I'm ranting. I think Atronach can be powerful. It can be really useful. I get why people like it. It's not good though. That's really all I got.